Hello everybody, my name is Darren, and today we are going to be going over Halo Campaign Evolved, the Halo 1 remake. To start this off, I just want to say that I know a lot of people are not really too thrilled about the prequel missions that were included in this, and I am going to go over those as well, although they are kind of separate from the actual remake itself. Their additional boarding action was the first of the three, and it was okay. It wasn't anything crazy. It basically was just, it was a lot like Truth and Reconciliation. It was the same type of layout. Going through those levels basically felt like the same exact thing. The entire level felt like Truth and Reconciliation, in my opinion. I will say I didn't necessarily mind the look and the feel of boarding action. I thought it was fairly decent for the most part in regards to just how the game looked, how pretty it was, and all that. And that's going to be a theme basically going through this entire video about how the entire game felt and how it looked. I will say visually the game looked absolutely fantastic, but in regards to the story that was added to the game through these three bonus missions, the whole thing is based around Operation Meteorite. The entire goal of these three missions is gaining intel. That is literally the primary objective. And it felt like they did an okay job at kind of putting it together and making it clear what your objective is, but with that being said, I felt like it was still kind of bland. Like it wasn't anything crazy in regards to what was added to the game. It didn't really add anything. How can I put this? It didn't really feel like there were stakes. That's the only issue that I really have with this objective. It didn't feel like it was a big deal until you actually complete the three missions. At the end of Heavy Burden, you see what the intel ends up being. It shows a glimpse at the very end with Sergeant Johnson talking with Halsey, and he sees what the intel is, and it's High Charity, basically. I thought that was really cool, but I wish there were more stakes throughout these three missions that actually showed what Operation Meteorite was supposed to be about, because it really wasn't too clear at first what they were going for, and maybe it was just because they didn't know what the intel was going to be anyway, so that's probably why. But it felt like there just wasn't really a whole lot on the line until you actually see that there's a prophet there, and that they had an opportunity to do something good with it, and it felt like they just didn't really deliver, which is a little unfortunate. But I feel like that's kind of a theme with Halo recently, is that they are not really, everything just kind of feels like it's hit and miss with Halo. Every time there's any sort of news coming out about, and I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but anytime there's anything remotely related to something being added, something coming out for Halo, whether it be like a new story, like a side missions being added to games, or a game that's completely separate to the main story, it just doesn't feel like it ever hits correctly. And I feel like that was basically what happened with these three missions that were included. It just did not hit. Most people did not really care about them. I didn't necessarily mind them. I don't hate them. I don't really love them either. It's just kind of a miss for me. The second mission, the Most Dangerous Game, I really liked the inclusion of this, and how it's basically just a big hunting ground. It was a nice change of pace from the kind of monotony of going through the ship itself and just seeing all the purple and everything. It's a nice break, being able to go out and actually get a little bit of a change of setting. I think really helped kind of separate this level from boarding action. They did a good job overall at making it feel different. And even the area where you go back in and you see kind of the gold and white area, I thought that was really pretty, really nice. It was designed really well. I liked it quite a bit. I think that they probably could have done a better job at like separating these areas, perhaps, maybe, I'm not sure, but I feel like there's something they could have done with that. I especially liked the area where the elites were dueling, or they were God, I can't even speak today. I especially like the area where the elites were dueling each other, that little room. I thought that was really nice. It was well done. And I think I didn't actually do it, but I think I saw somebody say that if you actually just sit there long enough, eventually they actually do fight to the death. So they're not even just doing it just to spar, like they're literally fighting to the death, which I thought was kind of crazy. The next thing I want to talk about when it comes to these prequel missions is basically just Steve Harvey himself, Sergeant Johnson. The fact that we can't use the freaking stanchion, even though they made it kind of like a big deal that the stanchion was going to be in the game, the fact that it's not usable at all is kind of annoying. Perhaps they could fix that later. Maybe that's one of the things that they could include in the Halo 2 remake. You know, maybe they just wait until Sergeant Johnson actually dies later on in Halo 3, and maybe that's when you actually get to use the stanchion. I don't know why they would make us wait that long, but I'm just trying to think logically of why they wouldn't include the ability to actually use the stanchion here. I know you can actually use it with mods, which is great. Mods add a lot to this game and make it really fun, but the fact that we have to have a mod just to use a stanchion is kind of a letdown, so it is a little disappointing. And the last level, Heavy Burden, I especially loved the way that we were able to get into Seraphs and actually fly around and have a little bit of space combat. I think that was really nice. It seems like no matter what you do, you can't really lose the mission. That's my only gripe about it, is that you can kind of screw around out there and not really focus on the objective that much, and you'll still be able to beat the mission. It seems like the ship that you're protecting basically just has unlimited health. That's the only gripe that I have about it. Other than that, visually it looked awesome. The space combat was really fun. I really liked it. All right, now it's time to talk about the main missions of Halo Campaign Evolved. The remake overall felt really awesome. These 10 missions were great. Visually, they were amazing. I have no gripe visually about how the game looks. I think it was awesome. As far as how it felt, it actually played really well. I didn't mind the way the game played at all. It felt pretty smooth most of the time. I know myself, I had a few little hiccups. There was a point during the prequel missions where the game actually crashed. I'm not sure what exactly caused it. Maybe it was just an overload because there was a lot going on. There was a lot happening. It was a area where there was a bunch of grenades going off like in the middle of the ship, so maybe that's what caused the crash. But in regards to the actual original campaign missions, I did not have a single crash the entire time that I was playing through the game. I did have some areas where you could see a little bit of stuttering if the combat got a little too heavy, or if there was like a condensed area where maybe it was a little too close quarters, maybe the colors had something to do with it, I'm not sure. I know on the mission 2 Betrayals, I believe I did have that issue where you take a Banshee and you fly through the tunnels, and there's like a turret in there with a grunt and like a few other small enemies, but it wasn't really anything crazy going on in there, and yet I was still having a massive amount of issue with it because my frames dropped immediately. Like, it was just really bad. It was like dropping to 20 frames per second as I was trying to get through it, which was not fun to play through. But as soon as I exited the tunnel, all of a sudden everything was perfect. The game went back to feeling amazing. Other than that small issue, as far as like frame issues or visual issues or anything, that's basically the only difficulty I had. Everything else throughout each of these 10 levels felt really nice. Nothing to complain about. It was really well done. The first thing I want to mention as far as the little additions that were added into this campaign, I thought it was really nice how when you exit the Pillar of Autumn out of the drop pod and you transition into the second level, Halo. It was really nice the way they included how the Marines actually die in that first scene, because it was speculated for a long time by a lot of fans that the Marines were potentially killed because Master Chief got knocked unconscious and his body, his big ass Spartan frame, just started bouncing around the pod and perhaps just, took everybody out. But the way they actually included this cutscene and actually showed how the Marines died, they literally like hit the ground, their locks failed, the door popped open, and a bunch of them flew out and died on the way down. I thought that was actually a really good inclusion to explain and show like how graphic it was, just how they died. I thought that was a really nice inclusion in the game that they couldn't have really done better. It was perfect. As for the mission itself, Halo, it was basically just how I remembered it. I mean, this is how the game basically felt when I first played it. This is how good it looked back then with my young eyes playing the game for the first time. This is how it looked. This is how it felt. It was a pure nostalgia trip. I really loved it. I think that they really couldn't have done anything better visually. The game really was great. I should say the level, the level really was great. It was very well done. Nothing to complain about there. Moving on to the Truth and Reconciliation. Again, this basically was the copy and paste from from boarding action. It felt the same. It felt exactly the same as far as the area. Storyline wise, obviously, this is what came first. This is the good version of it. Basically, boarding action was pretty much just exactly this, just copied and pasted over. But the mission itself, pretty fun. Didn't have any complaints with it. I thought it was really good. I know there was some one thing that I will point out. What the area where the Marines are being rescued and you're getting everybody out, you rescuing keys. There's a point where you have stealth elites with swords waiting in the room to jump you. One feature of the game that I know did kind of slightly take me out of it was whenever there's a few enemies left in an area, you'll see little red markers pop up to show you where the enemies are. It completely ruined the stealth part of the game for me. There was it's the whole point of that spot was that the stealth elites are invisible, and then they pull out their swords and they come at you. It's supposed to be kind of like, like a jump. They're trying to get the jump on you. And the fact that the red markers just popped up and completely gave away where the elites were, I thought that was a little stupid. So maybe they could have fixed that. But other than that, the mission itself was really good. I didn't have any complaints about it. Next up, we have the Silent Cartographer. And again, this is just another mission where it felt exactly how it should have been. I didn't really have anything to say about this other than the fact that it looked amazing and it was done really well. There's still that area where you pass the cutscene where Chief walks through and looks at the whole room for the first time, and you could still like do that skip where you jump down and basically skip that entire area. I thought that was cool that they kind of kept that in. You can still drive the Warthog pretty far through those freaking closed areas too, through the Forerunner spot. I thought that was nice that they kept that in as well. And moving on to Assault on the Control Room. A lot of people said that this is like one of the hardest missions that they had to deal with on Legendary difficulty or Lasso or whatever hardest difficulty they usually play. I myself didn't really find it too difficult. I thought it was still a really well done mission. With that being said, it is the longest mission in the game. In regards to just total playtime through and through. Even when I played through it, I think it was the because I separated my videos based off of missions, and I think that was the one that actually took the longest to get through, which makes sense. I mean, you're literally just going through and hitting a generator, taking it down, and doing that 3 times, and then you have to, it's a long process, but again, not a bad mission at all. Really good, really well done. Yeah, basically, I have nothing else to really say about Assault on the Control Room. I thought again, it was done really well. I didn't mind it at all. It was pretty nice. Now, the next mission, 343 Guilty Spark. This is without a doubt my favorite mission in the entire remake. The way that this area looks is absolutely stunning. Like visually, it's probably the best looking area. That outside point, right when you start, and you see the crashed ship, you see the Pelican, and you see a crashed Covenant ship as well. That entire area, for me, it visually is like the most impressive part of the game. It just looks really nice when you drop in and you see all the damage that was caused by them crashing down. It was really nice. And of course, 343 Guilty Spark is also where we first are introduced to my favorite antagonist in this game, my favorite enemy in this game, which is the Flood. I will say the Flood is really well done in this game. My only gripe about the Flood in general is the fact that they do not have the ability to infect live hosts. I think that's something that really does need to be included in the game. If the Flood are going to be in the game, they need to be able to infect live hosts. I mean, they are legitimately a parasite that it can infect anything. So the fact that they can't infect live hosts is a little disappointing, but again, maybe that's something that they could add in to the next game. Maybe that's something that they're saving for Halo 2. Hopefully. I'm hoping that's included. I don't know for sure if that's going to happen, but it would be really nice. And then moving on to the library, one thing that I really loved about the library is basically like the whole thing felt okay. It was a good mission. I thought it was really, really nice. It wasn't extremely difficult to get through. It didn't feel like it was more more difficult than Assault on the Control Room. It felt kind of like on par with it, if I'm being honest. But by far, my favorite thing about the library is there's a little room. There's a point where you have 2 panels to unlock doors. One of them actually includes the ability to go into a room and see a little Easter egg in there. I don't know if you want to call it an Easter egg or just an inclusion from lore or whatever, but they have a spot where there's a Marine that is in there, and he's dead, of course, but you see flood spores and you know all that effect around the room, and it's implied that this guy is actually the first reclaimer that 343 Guilty Spark chose, Marvin Marbuto. And I thought it was really cool that they included Marvin Marbuto in the game, even if they don't really mention his name. There's still a little bit of dialogue that Guilty Spark actually says. He actually kind of like references that was the first guy that was chosen, the first reclaimer, and I thought that was a really nice touch that they added into the game. That was really cool. I hope that there's little bits like that. Like I really wish that there was more of that in Halo, like little lore that gets added in from like the books and all that, because realistically the thing that irritates me the most about Halo in general, as far as the games, is just the fact that there's a lot of stuff that happens outside of the games that would be really nice to have context. You know, it would be really cool if there was all of that stuff kind of included, as even if it's just something quick, just to explain like what all is going on in the universe, because there's a lot from the books that I think would really make this entire universe feel more alive if it was included in the games. I think that would be really nice, but you know, it is what it is. I think it was still really nice that they included this little spot where you could see clearly this is Marvin Mobuto in the game, which is really nice. Now the next missions, 2 betrayals, keys, the maw, like these are, you know, obviously this is the final stretch of the campaign, and I mentioned already about the point in which I you know had some issues with frame rates and stuff going through the tunnels and all that. I won't go over that again just because I already kind of touched on it, but I will say the rest of this stretch, like these last 3 missions, they all felt fantastic. And again, this is just an overall theme of basically the whole remake, is that it looked great and it felt great. That's my take on the whole thing. It was really well done. I enjoyed everything about the game, basically. I mean, there was very minor things that I had issue with. I think this game may have been a lot better received if they just didn't have those prequel missions. I think the prequel missions do kind of damper people's opinions about the game overall. I understand why, but I think people are just hating on it a little too much, and at the end of the day, Halo fans are going to do what Halo fans do, and they're going to hate the game because nobody hates Halo more than Halo fans. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like the Destiny community. They just, for whatever reason, or Star Wars fans even, they just hate the freaking franchise despite claiming that they're fans. It's just really annoying. You know, as somebody who grew up on Halo, I don't like seeing people, you know, get so angry over such little things, but like, you know, again, it is what it is. As far as just going over the visuals again, I thought how they portrayed Keyes in that second to last mission, Keyes, just the way that he looked when he was being taken over by the flood, and they had kind of like the grave mine growing out the back of him, you know, forming visually, just how Keyes looked was awesome. Like, it really just showed how grotesque the flood is when they take hosts and whatnot. I mean, they didn't even use him as a host. They just like fully, I mean, they did technically, but they didn't really use him. They just kind of kept him trapped there. He was just trapped in the flood goo, you know, just fully in there. And I thought that was just amazing, like how it looked visually. It was just a really bizarre thing to look at and see. I also, just as a side note, I also like the fact that they actually hid the skull. They hid the Mystic Skull in Keyes. Like, you actually have to hit him like in the right area. You have to hit him a few times just to get the skull out. I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know why they did that. But I thought it was kind of cool they hit a skull in there. And then, of course, the last mission, the mall. I mean, this mission, again, it felt exactly like how I played through it when I was a kid. Just seeing everything visually. I mean, I loved how the ship looked when you were driving through the areas that were completely on fire. Like, the area actually got smoky, and it started becoming more difficult to see. I thought visually that was very impressive. It didn't ruin the visuals so much that it like ruined the gameplay or anything. It just made it to where it was slightly more difficult to see. It gave you that smoky effect when you were driving through the ship trying to get out before the entire ship eventually self-destructed, and I thought that was a really nice touch. Overall, the mall was a fantastic mission, maybe even my second favorite mission, just because that final run is so iconic. But yeah, again, a really great mission. I had nothing else to really say on the positive side about it. It was just really well done. So that was just walking through all my favorite things about the game, all the good things, basically, with a little side notes here and there. What I want to talk about next is basically the negatives that I experienced personally. For whatever reason, I had some issues with this game where, and it's not even really gameplay issues, it's just little things that didn't work for me for some reason. I played through this game with my cousin, co-op legendary, really fun. You know, it was a nice playthrough. That's all my videos are on the channel now of us playing through that game. But the thing that really irritated me, for whatever reason, I don't know why this even happened, but when we completed the game, I thought I was going to get the achievements for completing the game on Legendary and subsequently getting all the other achievements for completing the game on the other difficulties, because you should get them like all at once if you beat the game on Legendary, right? But for whatever reason, it just didn't populate the achievements for, I believe it was the library and the mall. I didn't get the achievements for completing those missions, despite the fact that there were no breaks through those missions. Like, we just played through, especially the mall too. Like, we went straight from keys through the mall, beat the game. So the fact that I didn't get the achievement on Steam for completing those missions, but I got the achievements for completing the other missions, really didn't make any sense. I don't know what caused that. It's just a weird little issue. I'm not sure what caused it. I'm going to have to replay those missions on Legendary just so I can get the achievements. But yeah, just a little weird thing that just happened. I'm not sure why the achievements didn't populate. And that's not all, actually. Another thing that was an issue for me was the skulls that we were collecting along the way. We got through the game, and I noticed that it didn't seem like we had as many skulls unlocked, at least on my end, as I thought we had picked up. And I went back and looked, and I realized that some of the skulls actually didn't unlock. I actually started replaying through the game. I'm actually doing it right now, playing through the game on easy difficulty, just to go through and try to collect as many skulls as I could that I missed. And I noticed immediately when I went to the Pillar of Autumn and looked for those skulls, I found every single skull in there that I found before, because pretty sure we found all the skulls in our first playthrough. And for whatever reason, none of them populated at all. I didn't get the achievement for getting all the skulls and whatnot until after I replayed, went through it, got all 3 skulls and the terminal, and finally got the achievement unlocked for doing so. And I just thought it was really weird that the game didn't save some of those skulls that we collected on our first playthrough. And as I'm going through the game right now, I think at this point of recording, I just passed 343 Guilty Spark in my easy playthrough, and I noticed that there, again, some skulls that I had picked up before were still on the map and available to get picked up again. I just thought it was really weird that some of the skulls did not populate. I should have had like 20 plus skulls unlocked, but I'm just now getting to the point where I think I now have 20 out of 42 unlocked, despite the fact that I've already played through the game once and definitely got more than 20 skulls. I don't know what the hell caused that, but again, just another minor issue that the game had. Some people might say that's a major issue, but I mean, achievements are kind of secondary for me most of the time. I usually just like to play through the game and enjoy it for what it is first, and then if I want to go back through like I'm doing now and get achievements, that's what I'll do. So again, you know, I wasn't too upset about it. I just thought it was really weird. I would be upset about it if it happened again, though. So please, Halo, for the love of God, do not do this to me again. I don't want to have to play through the game again just to collect skulls. I want to play through the game to enjoy it. Please work. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, and the last thing that I want to talk about, just to wrap this video up real quick, is what to look forward to in the Halo 2 remake. And basically, just to kind of sum it up, I would like to see more of the prequel mission style additions to the game, where you add missions for us to play through. They don't necessarily have to be that exact style, obviously, because a lot of people didn't like those prequel missions. But I think it would be really cool if we got some side missions, perhaps featuring the Arbiter. Maybe we could follow just before the events of Halo 2, we could see what the Arbiter was doing, where he came from, what fleets he was commanding and whatnot. Because again, this guy, I forget the Arbiter's actual name, but he was commanding fleets, and he ended up being scapegoat for why they failed with the first ring, right? And I would love to see some sort of perhaps prequel missions to Halo 2 kind of showing what the Arbiter was doing, even if it's just like one little mission that's like 5 minutes long. It'd be nice just to get something, just to kind of show what the Arbiter was doing. I like the Arbiter as a character. I know some people didn't really care for the Arbiter that much. I personally loved him. I thought he was a cool addition to Halo, and I think it would be kind of cool to see some prequel missions featuring him moving forward into Halo 2. I think that would be really cool. And the last thing I want to kind of go over as far as what I want to see in the Halo 2 remake, basically two big things. One, I want dual wielding. I want that feature for Halo 2. I mean, that's literally what they did for the original trilogy anyway. They should, include it here. I think that would just make a lot of sense to kind of mirror the original trilogy, have the dual wielding become a feature for Halo 2. Please and thank you. I would love to see that. And the last thing I want to talk about, and I briefly mentioned it earlier when I was going over the Guilty Spark mission, the Flood being able to infect live hosts. I think that is a very big feature that needs to be added into the game in order to expand the Flood overall. I think the Flood should be this menacing entity, because again, this is a hive mind thing coming at you. That's zombie-like creatures. They should be able to infect hosts and take you out that way. I would love to see the visuals of those little infection forms jumping onto Marines, ODSTs, whatever enemies, Covenant, elites, grunts, and being able to actively infect them and turn them. I think that would be kind of cool. Perhaps we could even see some new Flood forms. Maybe you could see a little infected grunt running around. I think that would be kind of interesting. Other than just having the Marines and the elites, I think it would be kind of cool to see infected grunts, jackals. I think that would be really nice. I especially wonder what a freaking infected hunter would look like. I think that would be kind of crazy. But yeah, just a couple things that I think should be added into the Halo 2 remake. I hope that they actually go forward and actually expand a little bit, adding features into the game to really make this next remake feel like something special. Because where this campaign sits for me, I mean, this is a really good remake in my eyes. Most people are going to rate it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10, probably. I mean, that's basically what I've seen online. But again, a lot of people, for whatever reason, do just hate Halo to hate Halo, despite being Halo fans, apparently. So me personally, this is like an 8 out of 10. I really like this remake. It's nowhere near as cool just because of nostalgia. It's nowhere near as cool as the first game, in my opinion. I'm always going to be partial to the first Combat Evolved. I think that's a great game, 10 out of 10, solid. But this remake really, in my eyes, did it justice, and I would be really disappointed if they come out with the Halo 2 remake and it's basically just the same as what this is. It would be really annoying if there weren't features added in, some more stuff to be had to make the game feel better. Quality of life, is very important, and I think that there's things that they can do. Just the stuff that I mentioned alone would really make it like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 remake, depending on how it's done. Anyway, that's gonna be all for this video. Let me know your thoughts on the Halo remake. I personally thought, again, this is like a nice 8 out of 10 remake in my eyes. I would love to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the Halo remake, and consider subscribing if you're not subscribed, and I will see you guys in the next video.